What if I told you that winning an Oscar isn't actually a victory, but a psychological test? D.L. Hughley just exposed what he calls Hollywood's darkest humiliation ritual, and Michael B. Jordan is the latest victim. From a massive network cover-up at the BAFTAs to a century-old curse involving the very first black Oscar winner, the tea we are spilling today is going to completely change how you look at the Academy Awards forever. If you thought the Will Smith slap was the craziest thing to happen at the Oscars, you are not ready for this. Grab your tea, because things are about to get incredibly messy. Legendary comedian and cultural commentator D.L. Hughley just set the internet on absolute fire, and he is not holding back. He recently stepped up to the mic to completely dismantle the Academy Awards, pointing a very sharp finger at the system following Michael B. Jordan's recent Oscar win. Now, before you jump into the comments to defend our reigning Hollywood heartthrob, let's get one thing straight: D.L. isn't trying to tear Michael down. Oh no, the tea is way darker than a simple celebrity feud. D.L. is calling out the entire Hollywood machine, describing the ultimate award season as a literal humiliation ritual for black entertainers. According to insiders close to the comedy legend, D.L. has been watching this cycle repeat for decades, and he's finally saying the quiet part out loud. So, lock in, because we are unpacking the scandalous BAFTA cover-up, the historical curse of the golden statue, and why Michael B. Jordan is being compared to a 1990s sports legend for all the wrong reasons. To understand the magnitude of D.L. Hughley's allegations, we have to rewind the tapes to just a few weeks before the Oscars. Let's talk about the BAFTAs. Picture it: Michael B. Jordan and his incredibly talented Sinners co-star, Delroy Lindo, step out onto the glittering stage to present an award. The vibe is elegant, the audience is packed with A-listers. And then, the unthinkable happens. Someone in the audience shouts the most vile, racial slur imaginable, the N-word, directly at them. Now, the official story, as confirmed by multiple UK entertainment sources, is that the individual who shouted the word suffers from Tourette syndrome. And listen, we absolutely hold space and empathy for medical conditions. But here is where the gossip columns and industry watchdogs are raising a massive red flag. Let's look at the timeline, shall we? The BAFTA broadcast was not live. I repeat, it was not live. According to network insiders, the BBC aired the ceremony with a massive 2-hour delay. In the television industry, 2 hours is an eternity. It is more than enough time for a frantic control room to bleep out a curse word, cut away to a wide shot, or completely edit out an uncomfortable moment. We've seen networks censor a wardrobe malfunction in 3 seconds flat. Yet, somehow, a racial slur hurled at 2 prominent black actors during a prestigious global broadcast was left completely untouched. Why? What was the motive behind letting millions of viewers witness that degradation? Industry whispers suggest that if that slur had been directed at any other marginalized group, the editing room would have scrubbed the audio faster than you can blink. Instead, 2 black kings were left standing there, humiliated for global consumption. Here is where the tea gets incredibly messy. Following the BAFTA incident, Delroy Lindo didn't hide his frustration. He spoke to the press, openly wishing that the BAFTA organization had possessed the basic decency to check in on them after the horrific moment. He wanted accountability. But what did Michael B. Jordan do? Nothing. Crickets. Total radio silence. According to PR crisis managers who analyze Hollywood trends, Michael's silence was a calculated move. He didn't post a Notes app apology. He didn't go on a daytime talk show to express his outrage. He just smiled, kept his head down, and weathered the storm. And magically, just weeks later, he's holding an Oscar. This brings us right back to D.L. Hughley's explosive theory. D.L. took to social media to drop a gem of wisdom, basically stating that whenever powerful people gather in secret rooms,
black men are judged by the exception, not the rule. Mm-hmm. The people that made it as opposed to the people that did.
Whether it's a grand jury or an elite Oscar voting committee, the outcome is rarely designed to protect or uplift black folks. D.L. is suggesting a deeply uncomfortable narrative. First, the establishment allows you to be publicly degraded. Then, when you prove that you won't throw a fit, won't demand apologies, and won't disrupt the status quo, they reward you with their highest honor. It's the ultimate compliance test. Can you take the disrespect, swallow your pride, and still thank us in your acceptance speech? If you think D.L. is just reaching for straws, let's take a walk down Hollywood's memory lane, because the receipts are overflowing. The concept of the humiliation ritual didn't start with Michael B. Jordan. Let's look at Will Smith. For decades, Will was the undisputed king of the box office. He campaigned endlessly, playing by all the rules, chasing that elusive Best Actor trophy. When did he finally get it? On the exact same night his reputation was globally shattered after he slapped Chris Rock on live television. The Academy let him sit in the front row, marinate in the absolute chaos of his own making, and then handed him a trophy while the world mocked him. Or, let's talk about the breathtaking Halle Berry. Over 2 decades ago, she broke the ultimate glass ceiling, weeping on stage as she became the first, and tragically, still the only, black woman to win Best Actress. She dedicated that monumental win to the legends who came before her, like Dorothy Dandridge, believing she had just kicked down the door for women of color. But let's look at what it took to get that statue. She won for a grueling, trauma-filled role in Monsters Ball, where she played a broken widow who gets intimate with the aggressively racist white prison guard who flipped the switch on her husband's electric chair.
Oh my God.
She had to bare her soul, and her body, in a narrative centered on a white man's redemption. And what was her grand prize after making history? Did she get the Meryl Streep treatment? Did she get her pick of prestige dramas? No, babe. Hollywood handed her Catwoman and slowly sidelined her into straight-to-streaming thrillers. And we cannot forget Lupita Nyong'o. She stunned the world in 12 Years a Slave, sweeping the awards circuit. But according to casting insiders at the time, her inbox wasn't flooded with romantic comedies or superhero leads, it was flooded with more scripts asking her to play enslaved women. Now, let's pivot to the most glaring piece of evidence in D.L. Hughley's argument. It's one thing to reward a black actor for following a script written by someone else. It is an entirely different ballgame when it comes to who controls the narrative. Did you know that in the nearly century-long history of the Academy Awards, not a single black director has ever taken home the prize for Best Director? Let that marinate. Almost 100 years of cinema, and the Academy has never once decided that a black visionary was the best in the world at leading a film. The snubs are legendary. John Singleton shattered records in the 90s with Boys and the Hood. Left empty-handed. Lee Daniels gave us the harrowing Precious. Ignored. Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture, but the director's trophy went elsewhere. Barry Jenkins gave us the poetic masterpiece Moonlight, but the Academy handed Best Director to Damien Chazelle for a movie about tap dancing in Los Angeles. And then there is the icon himself, Spike Lee. A man who literally reshaped American cinema. It took until 2019 for the Academy to even bother nominating him for Best Director for Black KKK.
There's something about Green Book that offends you. This is what I'm trying to get to.
Offend?
And of course, he didn't win. What does this tell us? Pop culture commentators argue it sends a very clear message. Hollywood loves black talent, as long as it is packaged, directed, and filtered through a lens they can control. You can win an award playing a tragic figure, a subservient maid, or a sidekick. But the moment you want to sit in the director's chair and tell your own authentic story? That's where the velvet rope goes up. To truly grasp the depths of DL's frustration, we have to look at the original blueprint. We have to talk about the legendary Hattie McDaniel. Back in 1940, Hattie made history by winning an Oscar for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. On what should have been the most triumphant night of her life, the hotel hosting the ceremony strictly enforced segregation. Producers had to call in special favors just to get Hattie inside the building. But she wasn't allowed to sit with her white castmates. She was escorted to a tiny, isolated table in the far back of the room against a wall. She accepted her award with grace, tears in her eyes, essentially setting the precedent for every black actor who would follow, accept the disrespect with a smile. And the cruelty didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. When Hattie passed away in 1952, her final wish was to be buried in the prestigious Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But because of the color of her skin, the cemetery flat out rejected her remains. It took nearly 50 years for them to even erect a memorial plaque in her honor. Hattie played the game. She took the subservient roles hoping it would open doors for the next generation. But as history shows, she spent the rest of her life fighting for industry scraps. D.L. Hughley is pointing out that, decades later, the dress code has changed, but the fundamental rules of the game remain exactly the same. This brings us to the types of stories Hollywood actually loves to fund. We've all seen the classic white savior movies. From The Blind Side to Green Book, the industry absolutely devours narratives where black pain or black genius is merely a stepping stone for a white protagonist to learn a valuable life lesson. It is the black experience, pasteurized and packaged for a mainstream, easily digestible box office hit. But what about Michael B. Jordan's newest project, Sinners? Surely, a movie starring our leading man is breaking the mold, right? Well, not everyone thinks so. According to a recently published, scathing critique by Dr. T.F. Reed, a prominent professor of African American history, the movie is actually peddling a dangerous illusion. Dr. Reed's scholarly deep dive suggests that Sinners offers a completely fabricated vision of empowerment. The professor argues that the film pushes a narrative where marginalized people just need to realize their own inner strength to overcome oppression. But as Dr. Reed passionately points out, personal empowerment doesn't dismantle deeply rooted systems of economic and social exploitation. It's a feel-good movie trope that lets society off the hook. You can pump your fist in the theater, but outside those doors, the systemic issues remain untouched. Getting a seat at the table, especially after the world watched you get humiliated at the BAFTAs, isn't actual progress if the table is still rigged. So, where does this leave MBJ? I know the Michael B. Jordan fans are probably screaming at the screen right now saying, why are we tearing down a successful black man? Why can't we just celebrate his monumental Oscar win? And trust me, the community wants to celebrate. Seeing him look sharp in that tuxedo, holding that gold statue, on the surface, it is a gorgeous moment. But D.L. Hughley's warning is that we cannot afford to get blinded by individual success while ignoring the structural rot underneath it. Let's be brutally honest about Michael's brand. He is undeniably talented. He is gorgeous. He can carry a multi-million-dollar action franchise on his back. But to Hollywood executives? He is something much more valuable. He is safe. If you scour through years of his press junkets, magazine covers, and red carpet interviews, you will notice a distinct pattern. Michael rarely, if ever, takes a hard stance on controversial cultural issues. He doesn't step on toes. He doesn't ruffle the feathers of studio heads. Even when a man screams a racial slur at him in front of a live, elite audience, he knows how to keep his mouth shut and keep the PR machine running smoothly. Pop culture analysts have started comparing his public persona to the iconic 1990s era of basketball legend Michael Jordan. Remember the infamous quote attributed to the NBA star when he allegedly refused to back a progressive political candidate against a controversial opponent? Republicans buy sneakers, too. Many critics are sensing that exact same energy from MBJ. He is a phenomenal talent, but he will never use his massive platform to say something that might jeopardize his relationship with the Hollywood elite. He will never make the people signing his checks feel uncomfortable. And according to D.L. Hughley, that is the exact recipe for winning an Academy Award. You have to prove that you value the shiny gold statue more than your own public vindication. So, roomies, we have to ask the hard questions. Is D.L. Hughley just a bitter veteran yelling at the clouds, or is he bravely pulling back the curtain on a system that demands complete submission in exchange for fame? Is Michael B. Jordan navigating a toxic industry the only way he knows how, or did he sacrifice his voice for a spot on the mantle? Whenever powerful people meet behind closed doors to decide your worth, the outcome is usually designed to protect the house, not the player. I want to hear from all of you in the comments. Grab your keyboards and let me know, do you agree with D.L. Hughley's theory of the humiliation ritual? Or do you think people are reading way too deeply into Michael B. Jordan's Oscar win? How do you feel about his silence regarding the BAFTA incident? Drop your thoughts, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the dark side of Hollywood, and as always, stay tuned for the next video.